You guys, Yulia here. So in today's video I wanted to show you all the winter damage we had after this past winter. We had the coldest winter in the last 25 years. That's longer than I've lived in the United States. The lowest temperatures went down to single digits Fahrenheit in January in consecutive days. 1 to 2 Fahrenheit, which is about minus 17, 18 Celsius, which I have not really experienced ever since I moved here. So there was some damage. I'm going to walk you in the garden and show you, like this boxwood, for example. Another thing I wanted to mention, that we had a severe drought last fall. No rain or any sort of precipitation for almost 2 months, which again is unheard of. So that combination of really dry fall and incredibly cold winter caused a lot of damage for a lot of plants. So I will start with this boxwood right here. It is not dead, but it's definitely severely damaged, and it will not recover and be as full as I would like it to be, so I'm definitely going to replace it. But this Green Mountain boxwood is hardy to zone 5, and when you plant a plant in a pot like this, it should be rated zones 2 colder. And ironically, we were moved into a zone 7 last year together with 2/3 of a country because of our average lowest temperature has been a lot milder. But of course we ended up having this incredibly cold winter, and in combination with the drought that was in the fall, this plant just did not make it. I could have done, if I knew we would have such cold winter, is spray this plant with anti-desiccant. It is an organic solution, usually a pine resin of some sort. Some of the brand names are wilt proof, so something we put on our Christmas decoration. And it coats the plant with this protective layer, and the moisture does not evaporate as fast from this plant. Now, interestingly, our neighbors 2 blocks away installed a very new hedge of skip laurels, and I saw the company come in and treat the entire hedge with anti-desiccant in October. And they were so right, because again, the combination of a drought and also very cold winter, plus newly installed broadleaf evergreens, that is just like a perfect storm for a die-off. And those skip laurels look amazing. By the way, look at the daffodils right now. Aren't they so pretty? Just so beautiful. But what I wanted to show you are these perennials here. So Darwin Perennials, which is a company that breeds plants, sent me some plants to trial last year. I don't think that they were available last year, but they're definitely available this year. So they sent me yarrow, foxglove, and this agastache. And the yarrow is doing amazing because it's a very hardy plant. The foxglove had little damage. But what I wanted to talk about specifically is this agastache. This is summer-long peach agastache. And I loved it last summer. It was blooming almost the entire season. I could not believe it. And I remember telling myself, if this thing survives our winter, which agastaches are very finicky in our winters, I said, this is absolutely a winter plant. And look at this. This looks so good. This flushed out just so beautifully. So definitely check out this plant. It has these beautiful peachy terracotta-like flowers. Again, blooms all summer long, and it survived incredibly severe winter. Another view of the daffodils, because I can't help myself. They look so pretty right now. But as you can see, the boxwoods that were planted in the ground, these are winter gems, are doing really well. I do not prune these. You can see what a non-pruned boxwood looks like. I actually quite like them. Let me show you a plant with a serious winter damage. This rhododendron, which was here, and actually the whole group of them They were planted here before we moved in, which is over 20 years ago, and it never had damage like this. And this is definitely a combination of drought in the fall and really severe winter. Very classic for broadleaf evergreens. They don't have enough moisture in the fall, and then the winter just desiccates everything. So anti-desiccant would have been helpful if I knew we were going to have such harsh winter. But what to do now with something like this if you have damage like this in your own garden? I would not rush into pruning this off, although this is obviously dead. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait for about a month, and I'm going to see where this plant will start waking up. It probably be somewhere down the branch. There will be some lateral growth, some dormant buds that are sleeping right now. They will wake up, and I will prune this plant all the way to that point, or to the tissue that appears to be alive. But I'm not going to rush into this because you can actually do even more damage with pruning this plant a little bit too much. More than half of it is alive and actually will bloom this year, so that's fine. On a side note, I am thinking about replacing a lot of these rhododendrons because they are quite old and overgrown, but I'm going to leave them for now. This is a project for later years, but I am going to wait to prune something like this until later. After I prune it, I like to fertilize with hollytone. They respond really well to that, so they will flush out with a fresh new growth and hopefully recover very fast. So here's another situation that could happen to perennials in harsh winter like we just had. So this Helleborus right here, I divided last spring. So 1, 2, 3, this was one plant. And it was time to divide it because it was really old and congested. I think it was almost 15 years old. So I specifically divided it in the spring so they had time to root in. And these two clumps look really good. They're even blooming very well. However, that clump right there, for some reason, did not have enough time to root in. And do you see how it heaved out of the ground? See how like the whole clump is kind of raised? So because it didn't have enough time to root in, just popped out of the frozen soil. So in a situation like this, what I should have done is definitely watered them a little bit more in the drought and also mulched extra. I did not mulch them at all. No idea why. Probably because I didn't have time. But they're going to be fine, but you can see that clump is a little bit behind. The heaving can occur even worse. The entire root system can pop out of the ground. So in that case, I recommend highly, if you plant your perennials in the fall, make sure that you plant them at least 6, preferably 8 weeks before your first frost. This way they will have time to root in and they will not heave like this. Another thing that you can do is mulch them extra to protect them from cold, and especially euchres. Euchres are prone to heaving, so definitely mulch those crowns before the winter. Okay, let me show you this fig that I have here. This is Chicago Hardy fig, and I did not cover it last winter. Even when we had all the warnings of some of the coldest temperatures coming, I did not cover it on purpose because I just wanted to see how it will do. Even if the top dies off, figs actually bloom and produce on new wood. But guess what? The entire upper part of this plant is alive. There's some buds that are about to break, and I did a scratch test. I don't know if you can see any of that. Anyway, it's green. I did a scratch test and all of these branches are green. And the reason being is because this is definitely a microclimate. This is southern exposure wall and very protected from northern winds. So microclimates are huge If you are planting a plant that is semi-hardy to your area, or you're trying to push zones, you can plant it in a little bit of a microclimate and also cover it. But I didn't even have to cover it because the ambient heat from this wall was protecting this plant. So I'm really, really happy. Let me show you another fig that we have. I planted this fig in a pot and I actually really love the look of it, but also it helps us move this fig into the garage in the winter, which we have been doing in the last 2 winters. And it has been doing amazing. You could see none of the damage here. The buds are breaking out here. Here's a winter damage on Southern Magnolia. This is a little gem. They are a lot smaller than Bracken's Beauty. Still really, really beautiful. So I will treat this the same as a rhododendron. I will wait for about a month and I will see where on this plant I have a lateral buds that will start waking up, and then I will prune to healthy tissue. But anti-desiccant definitely would have been helpful on this plant as well. I've had this one here for 2 or 3 years and it never had any damage. But again, with our weather being so unpredictable and me having a little bit of more colder microclimate here, so the space where I showed you where the fig is, that spot is definitely a lot warmer and protected, but in the back of our garden, it's more exposed to winds and not as protected. So I am not surprised that this little guy got damaged. So let me show you the back of the garden here where the little magnolia is. So this area is definitely more prone to northern winds and colder temperatures. So anything that I plant here, what I learned, has to be a lot hardier than that southern magnolia. Other things that happen here in the back of the garden, my favorite witch hazel amethyst did not really have a great show. First of all, didn't bloom as prolifically as it usually does, and it bloomed way later in the season. Usually it starts blooming in the middle of January. This year was more like middle of February, and it only had a few flowers. Another thing that happened is this crepe myrtle right here died off completely to the ground. So I'm actually going to remove it. I never liked the plant anyway, so it was kind of fortunate that it died off. It can reflush from the root. It has happened before, but I think it's just an excuse for me to just let it go. So I lost another shrub in the garden and I'm actually kind of glad. I know it sounds strange, but this is a peanut butter plant and I was obsessed with it for a long time. It's such a cool plant. The flowers are beautiful. The leaves smell like peanut butter. It's very unusual. I was trying to grow it for years and it would not take in my garden because it is hardy to zone 7. But in the last few years, it lived just fine because we had such milder winters. And of course, last winter, it completely died off. Now, the reason why I'm glad is because it was actually starting to become invasive with suckers all around this area. And I was going to remove it anyway, but the last winter did it for me. This is my winter damage situation in the garden after this past winter. So what I'm going to do going forward is, of course, water plants in really well, regardless whether we have a drought or not, but especially if we have a drought. I would mulch perennials extra before they go into winter, especially the newly planted ones. I would probably not push zones in the back of my garden because it's definitely a lot colder there. I can still push zones around the house because I feel like there's a lot milder microclimate there. But another thing that I wanted to mention is besides waiting for the plants to flush out a little bit before you start removing dead branches or damaged branches, just look at some plants that flush out later. For example, this clethra shrub behind me, this does not flush out until middle of May or end of May, and a lot of people think that they lost it. But if you do a scratch test and if you see some green tissue on it, it's definitely alive. Yes, it is a later flushing out plant, but it's beautiful. Another one that is kind of late to the party is hardy hibiscus. You'll wait for that plant forever. It just does not come, but then it'll start growing and it adds so much bulk in one season. Of course, if I had a crystal ball, I probably would have used an anti-desiccant on a lot of my evergreen plants. But this is part of gardening. We are a lot of times at the mercy of nature and just learn to roll with it. But let me know in the comments below if you guys lost any plants, and I hope this video has been helpful for you and you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.